The Vampire Diaries Season 8, Episode 11, You Made a Choice to Be Good. Now this episode, I gotta be honest, really shocked me with its finale. I'm trying to think of any time I've actually been affected by them doing something like that, and I'm trying to not be too loud, because I don't know if my girlfriend's walking around the house or anything, so she hasn't seen the episode yet. But it was really crazy. And most of this episode I actually did enjoy. I enjoyed the whole episode. I thought it's just another good episode. Is leading to the next steps of what they're gonna do. Didn't know where we were, and I believe I mentioned that last week. Like, I don't know, how many episodes we have left. I'm sure they'll mention it once we're down to it, and that's exactly what they did after this. Is like we're headed towards the final 5 episodes of this series, and going through this episode, like I said, started off it was fairly normal. Things got crazy. Cade has escaped. He actually lets Stefan out, which I was curious how that was going to play, but he lets him out. He ends up running into Bonnie in the beginning of the episode, reads her mind, which ends up being the catalyst for the whole last, 5 minutes of the episode. And, he reads her mind. He pits the boss of this coffee shop against one of his employees, which I thought was very over the top. Like, I know you probably beat a dude up, but, he was, slamming him against the glass and stuff, and I was like, I know he'd probably, punch the dude in the face, but, I mean, I've never been, married to someone who cheated on me, so I don't know. That does happen. I was like, alright, well, he pit them against each other, and he's going around, and he's just like, alright, well, bad person here, bad person there. And then that's when he gets to Damon. He lets Stefan go, and it's like, we don't know where the heck he is for most of the episode, and then we get Damon's ultimatum, which was even a part of the promo. And it's either kill 100 innocent people or just 100. Just kill me 100 souls. He actually did want specifically bad people, because when Damon does decide to kill 100 random people, he's like, it was good to see your work, but that person was actually really nice. And I was like, well, he certainly never specified give me 100 evil souls. He really did just say, kill off 100 people, or kill Caroline. So once we get to that portion, it's like, all right, well, the whole episode he's trying to figure out, how do I take out Cade? What in the world am I supposed to do? And he comes up with his plan B, and Cade walks up to him and is like, he's reading his mind. He's like, you wonder, can I be killed by fire? Kind of poetic, I guess. And of course, we see that doesn't really work. There's no poetic sort of kill for Cade. That's just not going to happen. He can't be killed by flames. He is absolutely immortal in the craziest sense. I mean, his heart gets ripped out, I'm sorry, it doesn't get ripped out. He just pulls it out. I think if someone else does it, it counts as ripped out. He just was like, oh, I just here you go. I'm on flames. I'm engulfed in flames, and I'm holding my heart, still talking and everything. It's really no function. He's full on immortal. It just doesn't matter to him. So physical route, not too grand. Not much that they can really do there. So it's like, how the F is this going to work? What are we supposed to do? And that's when things start to build up with Stefan, where we're like, alright. Stefan goes to this gas station, runs into this random woman, and I'm just like, alright, what's happening? I figured at first it was just going to be these homes are like this, or there's certain people that live in certain places, and he's just trying to find out where they live so he can find them and take them out because he knows that they're bad. Something like that. That's where I was headed with my thinking. And then we get down to the nitty gritty of it, and Cade reveals that Stefan has the same mission as Damon, except he chose to go after. He went, love of the life route, which was to kill Elena. And that's when we get the reveal as to what Stefan has been doing this whole time with this random real estate agent at this gas station. And it's him signing over Bonnie's house that she bought, her super secret house. It's him signing it over to, I guess, the real estate agent. Actually, I'm not, that signed it over to her so that she could be the one to fight him in. And that's when it got crazy. Damon figures out what's happening, and he tries to get to the house. Of course, he'd be too late because he can't move that fast, whether he's in a car or running. He's just not fast enough with Stefan's head start. He's already got the exact location, so he's already headed there, and the house has been signed over to him. And something that I thought was really weird is that he could have it signed over to him, or signed over to the woman, which I thought made no sense without Bonnie being there in some way, shape, or form, because that's how houses work. You can't just sign. I mean, I guess it counts as forgery. They didn't specify that, but I'm like, you can't just do that with a house unless you forge somebody's signature. Like, you have to have that person there in order to do something like that. And it was just like, it has to be forgery based. Like, and I guess that's a loophole as far as being invited in and that type of stuff. Whether it's forged or not, if that contract gets signed, then that's all there is to it. So I don't know, but I'm like, that's not how houses being transferred actually works. But it's a TV show. So he gets the contract signed over to this real estate agent. He's invited in, and that leads to Enzo actually being kicked out. And that's when we get to the heart of this episode. Not, I mean, this really have a pun for that, but we get to like just the pure insanity of this episode, which is the ending, because the entire episode we go through and Bonnie is helping Enzo do his bucket list, and he's going on a racetrack, and he did some other crazy stuff that they talked about, and it was because she wanted him to do all these amazing things before he decided to take the cure. And that was so that there's really no risk to it. He could do the things that he's always wanted to do and just have fun with it, so he had no regrets once he decided to take the cure and live the rest of his human life out with Bonnie. And they go through and everything's just, alright, well, we have to put our happiness on hold. And, Bonnie was, of course, upset with that. And she's like, we'll put our happiness on hold like we always do. And we will get the cure to you guys. We will find a way to get it into Cade. Have Enzo get it from him by killing him. And then Enzo will be human. Cade will be gone. Everything will be good. Stefan's broken. Stefan's free. The other villains are dead. The sirens, they've both been killed off. Everything, works out fine. And it gets to that ending sequence, and I thought, honestly, I was thinking that there would be some sort of fight. Like, they knew what was happening. I thought they'd be a bit more prepared, and I guess, I feel like no one just called them to tell them, like, this is how close he is, and I think that was the main reason that we got that ending, because they knew something was off, but it was like, alright, we just need to do this. We don't know how close he is. They just did this. Let's just get out of here. No, they weren't really pressured because it was like they're states away. And for them, it was just like no real pressure, but we do have to hurry a little. And, they have this sequence and, they're talking back and forth and we get to Bonnie. I think she says, like, is there a quantity or, like, is there a measurement for what is or is not the cure? And there's no response. And that's when I was really worried because, like I said, I thought there would be some sort of fighting or something like that, and there was none of that. And so she walks out, and he's standing there, and I was just like, man, like, not like this. Like, this is not the way I want to see this happen. And, of course, we hear the sound effect that they use, and he just drops to the ground, and Stefan just lets go of his heart, and it was just like, man, that is not what I was expecting by the end of this episode. It was, honestly, the last thing I would have expected for any of these episodes, really, was for anyone to die. I didn't think they'd actually do it in the final seasons, actually kill somebody off. I mean, they've done it with the villains, of course, but I just didn't think they'd do it with one of the main characters. It makes sense with it being the final season and the show in general. They have definitely done that, but I just didn't think they'd actually do it in the final season. Last 6 episodes they did this, and it was just crazy. And I loved Enzo as a character, I'm not gonna lie. Enzo was like, he started off as like this, neutral character who was left behind by Damon, and he's transformed into something like such a cool character, and then he ends up in a relationship with Bonnie, and I just love that dude. Like, he was a really good character. He's also like probably second most sarcastic guy. Like, of course, like, we gotta put Damon at number 1, but Enzo's right in there with all the sarcasm, but it was just really good, and like, always loved that character, and it was just crazy how they went about things in this episode. And there was something, and this was kind of mentioned a while back, and I've mentioned this before, I'm sure a ton of other people have thought about this as well, but Bonnie being affected by the bell, I mentioned that, I believe it was in the last episode actually, and I mentioned we're probably going to see that. They haven't talked about it too much, but there's still that effect on Bonnie. And they even talk about it in this episode. They hit like a bump in the road, and it affected her. And I'm like, there's something to that. If her powers were gone, there's no reason that a psychic disruption, sort of bell would have any effect on her. And I'm like, there's just, it has to happen. Like, there's some way that they're going to reference this, like her power still being there in some way, shape, or form. And it was definitely referenced in that ending sequence. And we see like that, sort of that shockwave. And I swear, I hope this is how it plays out. But as soon as that happened, I was like, there it is. Like, those are her powers. And then I was like, this is how they defeat Cade. Like, it's not going to be, of course, with Stefan having the cure in him, Cade's not going to bite him and, he can't turn him back. He's technically not a vampire. He's just like a crazy super immortal psychic. So he can't do anything to turn, or turn Stefan back. So there's nothing to that side of it anymore. But now they actually have another psychic that can do something. And we'll see how they kind of build that up in these last 5 episodes. But that, if anything was going to be the catalyst, it would be that. And it made a lot of sense. And it was really sad. I do not remember a time when I was like so affected by one of the deaths in the show. And I think it was just because of the simple, like, subtle way that it happened. There was no epic fight to it. There wasn't really a build up, because like I said, it was kind of hard to tell if they know how close he was and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't think they're going to know. And that's why I was really worried when he was going up there. I'm like, I know he's going to be a fight in some way, shape, or form, but I don't know how this is going to play out with the two of them being there. And it was just crazy, and it was such just a simple moment, and you just knew, and that was it. And then, of course, excuse me, in between the moment when Enzo ends up dying and Bonnie goes out to him, Bonnie is about to get killed herself, and she turns Stefan into a human. And I just don't know how that's going to play out for the series either, but I'm very excited to see where they go with these last 5 episodes. I just wasn't expecting this one. It really does suck. Like, honestly, I tried to think back on everything that they've had, and I don't know, none of the deaths have really affected me like this. They've certainly had other deaths that were really crazy, and I think I think the only other one would probably be Joe, because I think during that episode, everything seemed like it was perfect and in the clear. And of course, I've said this, I don't know how many times, but there's 2 characters. It's either Alaric or Bonnie. They just cannot have happiness. That's like their lives in this series is like, here's some good moments for you, and then here's like the worst. Here's just another worst thing that's ever happened to you in your entire life. And that's the lot of those 2 characters, and it's so unfortunate. I've said that a million times, but they're the only 2. Every time they get something good, it lasts for a nice long while, and then it's not like, oh, that person left me or something, we just fell apart. No, they die every time. It's the worst thing that could happen. Either the characters die or someone they love dies. That is it. That's the only way stuff ends for those 2 characters, and it's always so bad. And that's kind of what makes them, really, for me, like the best 2 characters in the show. Although I think Enzo might have been in there. I don't know. He probably is number 3 for me. Might even be number 2. Like, Alaric was always my number 1, but I feel like it was because he went through so much stuff. I think the way they did Bonnie's thing is that she either lived or she died, so it went back and forth, so it wasn't as bad, because we always kind of knew, like, once it was like, alright, the first time it was crazy, but then it was like, alright, she's a ghost. Whenever someone's a ghost, we know they're coming back, so it was never, like, scary when she died. It was crazy, because it was like, holy crap, that just happened, but we always knew she was coming back. With Alaric, it was just like, I don't know, he's killed, and he's a vampire now, he's basically an original. He's dying so much with the ring on. He was a villain during one season. So there were so many things. He lost his twins. He almost lost them again just this season. So he's still like my number 1 because of all the craziness that he went through. Starting off as just a dude who's, literally his beginning story was Damon killed his wife. I think he cheated with her or something like that, and then he killed her. Some crazy stuff, but that's how that started. So like, he's still my number 1, but I think Enzo I just thought was really cool, so that's probably why I'm thinking number 2. But yeah, it was probably Alaric, then Bonnie, and then Enzo is my favorite characters. But it's just really sad. It was like, I never would have expected that for this episode. In general, like I said, I didn't think they'd actually do it during the final season. it was really hard to tell, but I just didn't see it coming, and that was definitely a sad ending. It was like, man, like I said, such a simple way, no build up, no, not the normal sense of adrenaline. It's just like it could happen because I don't know, but there was no we're fighting and it'll probably be to the death, that sort of thing. It was just it happened, and it was just crazy. It's like I honestly was not expecting it. So I love the way it ended. As far as storytelling, phenomenal. As far as personally speaking, I hate the writers right now because I just wasn't expecting it. But it was a great episode. Like it was like I said. It started off. It was just a simple good episode. How the heck are they gonna get out of this crazy situation? And technically, they still don't. I mean, this episode technically ends before it's nightfall. So I feel like that'll still have some sort of effect in the next episode that Damon didn't go through with either plan by sundown, by Cade's, terms. So I was like, all right, that still might have something to do, have an important element in the next episode. But crazy ending. I never would have seen it coming, to be totally honest. But I really, of all things, I seriously hope that Bonnie's the one that gets to kill Cade now. It's like, that's all I can think is like, if anyone else does it, I don't know if I'll be satisfied. Like, it has to be Bonnie. Or she at least has to be the only reason someone else gets to do it. Like, if it was Stefan that did it because he was feel like, I'm very curious how he's going to feel after having done that. And I can't wait to see what they do with Damon, because he gets those couple of moments of emotion, and that was one of those moments like when they introduced Enzo where it's like he left that guy behind, and we had the back and forth when Enzo was a villain and stuff like that, and how Damon did feel bad for leaving him, and then he kind of did it again. So I am actually excited a lot for the emotional aspects of these characters in the next episode. Stefan has to deal with it. Obviously, he's human. His humanity is on. Damon has to deal with losing probably his second best friend after Alaric, or I guess third best, because it was Alaric and then it shifted to Bonnie because he kind of did her wrong way more than he did Alaric wrong. So I guess since it was number there, it's kind of in the same lines as me, his characters. But there's a lot of emotion that's going to be involved in this next episode, and I'm excited to see it. But this is a good one, very depressing ending, but probably the biggest shock that I can really recall. Like, I actually read a list of shocking moments from this series, like 16 really big moments, and this is definitely up there for sure. Any character death, of course, is always going to be up there because it's like you always expect people to make it, and they do it so close to the end as well that it kind of makes it more shocking because you just don't know how it'll play out. If it's going to be everyone lives but they almost die a bunch, and we already had, even though Tyler wasn't the main character, we had a death like that of a really important character who was a main character and even was kind of responsible a little bit for the originals because of him being a werewolf leading into that whole story arc. But it's just interesting. There's just a lot of craziness with this season. So we have Damon having killed a main character, and now we have Stefan as well. So they both have suffered mentally by the hands of Cade and what they chose to do. But it'll be something. I can't wait to see these last 5 episodes, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about it, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. Of course, gotta ask how you guys are feeling about what they did with Enzo. Of course, I would love to know if you guys think he'll actually be resurrected somehow. It's just, who knows? It's impossible to say. We might at least get to see him on the other side in some regard. I was always curious ever since they announced it. I was just like, will there be a time skip in the series finale? Will they skip to when Elena wakes up? I know that Nina Dobrev is supposed to be in the finale, so will it be a time skip? How's that going to play out with Stefan, of course, being human? Is he going to change back to a vampire? Just a lot of elements to it, so we'll have to see. We'll just have to see. Maybe, considering Bonnie still has that vial, she could technically get the cure. If she got turned, she could get the cure from Stefan and allow him to turn back into a vampire. If she wanted to do it that way, they could work that out. But don't know where we're headed. 5 more episodes though. 5 more Chunks' story, and we'll see what they do with it. But like I said, of course, want to know what you guys think about what they did with Enzo in this episode. And I do want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.